Here is my advice to you today. Walk away from the 97%. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or intelligence. They fail because they follow the wrong crowd. They watch what everyone else is doing and assume that's the right way to live. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, where is that path leading? Look at the results. If you want to be successful, you can't just go with the flow, because the flow is leading most people straight to frustration and regret. Success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. Just like planting seeds in fertile soil, watering them and giving them sunlight will eventually produce a harvest, success is a process. It's cause and effect. The problem is, most people want the harvest without planting the seeds. They want wealth without discipline, growth without learning, and progress without change. But life doesn't work that way. If you follow what unsuccessful people do, you'll get the same results they get. And if you follow what successful people do, you'll get what they get. I learned this the hard way. At 25, I was broke, in debt, and full of excuses. I thought successful people had some kind of advantage I didn't. I figured they were just lucky, born into the right circumstances, or had connections I didn't have. Then I met a mentor who shook me up. He said, your bank account is a reflection of your past choices. Your health, your relationships, your success, it's all a product of what you've been doing every single day. And that hit me. It wasn't the economy. It wasn't my background. It was me. My daily habits, my thinking, my decisions. Those were the seeds I had been planting, and I was reaping exactly what I had sown. That's when I realized something powerful. Change starts with a decision. One decision. Not 10, not 20, just one. The decision to turn things around, to stop making excuses, to take responsibility. And responsibility is a tough pill to swallow, but it's also the most liberating thing you'll ever do. Because if you caused your problems, then you can fix them. If you built a life of struggle, then you can build a life of success. The moment you decide to change, the game changes. Now, here's what most people do. They wait. They wait for the perfect time, the right opportunity, a sign from the universe. They say, I'll start when I have more money. I'll begin when things settle down. I'll change when the time is right. But let me tell you, the time is never right. The stars will never align. The perfect moment will never arrive. You have to decide right now that you're going to change, that you're going to do something different, that you're going to break free from the habits and thinking that have been holding you back. You see, success isn't this mysterious force that picks and chooses who gets to win. It's simply a reward for those who make the right decisions, who take action, who develop discipline. So, if you're not where you want to be, don't wait for a miracle. Make a decision, plant the right seeds, and start moving in a new direction. Because the harvest is guaranteed for those who are willing to work for it. If there's one thing I learned early on, it's that the people you spend time with will shape your future more than you realize. It's almost like an invisible force, pulling you in a direction, whether you recognize it or not. If you spend time with people who complain, who blame the government, who think success is just for the lucky, guess what? You start talking like them, thinking like them, and ultimately living like them. But if you surround yourself with people who are focused, disciplined, and committed to growth, their mindset starts to rub off on you. It's inevitable. I remember when I was struggling, trying to figure out why nothing was working for me. My income was low, my motivation was even lower, and I felt stuck. Then someone asked me a question that changed everything. Who are you listening to? And I thought about it. The people I was around weren't exactly living the life I wanted. They were just as broke as I was, just as frustrated, just as lost. I realized I had been taking advice from people who had never been where I wanted to go. That was my first mistake. So I made a change. I sought out people who were ahead of me in life, people who were winning, people who had the mindset and habits I needed. And at first it was uncomfortable. They thought differently, they spoke differently, and they expected more, not just from themselves, but from me. They didn't let me make excuses. They didn't let me settle. And that's when I learned something valuable. Growth is uncomfortable, but so is staying the same. The question is, which discomfort do you want? Because there are two types of pain in life, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And one of them lasts forever. Discipline is uncomfortable, yes. Waking up early to work on your goals, reading instead of watching TV, investing instead of spending. It's not always easy. But what's the alternative? Waking up 10 years from now, wishing you had started earlier, regretting the opportunities you let slip away? That pain is far worse. Because you can recover from temporary discomfort, but regret has no refund. I remember meeting a man who told me, I had a chance to invest in a business years ago, but I was afraid. I had the money, but I hesitated. Now that company is worth millions, and I'm still in the same job, wondering what could have been. That's the price of hesitation. That's the cost of staying comfortable. So choose wisely. Choose your environment, choose your circle, choose the discomfort that leads to growth instead of the one that comes from looking back, wishing you had done more. Because in the end, you either suffer the short-term pain of discipline or the lifelong pain of regret. And the choice is yours. If there's one thing that separates those who achieve wealth and success from those who don't, it's the commitment to learning, not just once, not just when it's convenient, but for life. The wealthy never stop learning. They don't assume they have all the answers. They seek them. They don't wait for wisdom to come to them. They go out and find it. If you want to change your life, you have to change what you know. And if you want to change what you know, you have to become a student of success. I remember when I was just starting out, struggling to make ends meet. I thought working hard was enough. I figured if I put in the hours, did my job, and waited long enough, things would improve. But nothing changed. Month after month, I was stuck in the same place. Then one day, someone handed me a book, and that book opened my eyes. It taught me that success isn't about working harder, it's about working smart. It's about learning new skills, developing the right mindset, and surrounding yourself with the right ideas. That's when I realized I had been looking at success the wrong way. The wealthy don't just work, they study. They read books, they attend seminars, they find mentors. They don't assume they already know everything. They stay curious. And that curiosity leads to transformation. Because the truth is, if your mind doesn't grow, your life won't either. If your knowledge stays the same, your income, your opportunities, and your results will stay the same too. That's why the best investment you can make isn't in the stock market. It's not in real estate. It's in yourself. But here's the challenge. Most people stop learning after school. They graduate, get a job, and think they're done. They settle into a routine and wonder why nothing changes. But learning isn't something you do once, it's something you do daily. Because every day, you're either growing or you're falling behind. The world is moving fast. Opportunities are shifting. Industries are evolving. And if you're not learning, you're getting left behind. And that brings me to the most valuable asset you have, time. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose an opportunity and find another one. But once time is gone, it's gone. And yet most people treat time like it's unlimited. They waste it on things that don't matter. They let it slip away on distractions, and then they wonder where the years went. But successful people, they treat time like gold. They use it wisely. They don't waste it on gossip, complaining, or things that don't move them forward. They understand that every minute is a choice. Either you invest it in your future or you spend it on something that won't matter 5 years from now. I once met a man who told me, if only I had started 10 years ago. And I looked at him and said, then start today, so you're not saying the same thing 10 years from now. Because that's the real tragedy. Not that people don't have enough time, but that they don't use the time they have wisely. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent, background, or luck. It's how they use their time. The successful make time for learning, for growth, for improving their skills. The unsuccessful, they make excuses. So here's the challenge. Start today. Pick up a book, find a mentor, attend a seminar, learn something new, value your time, protect it, and use it wisely. Because the greatest regret in life isn't failing, it's realizing you had the time, but you didn't use it. Don't wait for the right time to start learning, growing, and changing. The right time is now. Most people live their lives based on what's right in front of them. They wake up, go to work, pay the bills, and repeat the cycle, never stopping to ask themselves if they're actually going anywhere. They live small because they think small. They aim low because they fear missing the target. But if you want to achieve something extraordinary, you need a vision bigger than yourself. Something that pulls you forward. Something that gives your work meaning, your struggles purpose, and your sacrifices value. Because without a vision, you're just drifting. I remember a time when I had no vision. I was working a job I didn't love, making just enough to get by and wondering why I wasn't getting ahead. Then I met a man who asked me a simple but powerful question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I didn't have an answer. 5 years? I was too busy trying to get through the next 5 days. That's when I realized my problem wasn't my job, my income, or even my circumstances. It was my thinking. I had been living on autopilot, reacting to life instead of designing it. And until I had a clear vision for where I wanted to go, I was never going to get there. Look at the most successful people in the world. They aren't just working for a paycheck. They aren't just going through the motions. They have a vision, a purpose that drives them. They see a future so compelling that it pushes them to do what others won't. Because here's the truth. When you have a vision, discipline becomes easier. Hard work doesn't feel like a burden. Obstacles don't stop you. They motivate you. But here's where most people get stuck. They dream, they plan, they talk about all the things they're going to do, but they never take action. Why? Because of fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of losing what they have. And that fear keeps them trapped. They play it safe, they avoid risk, they stay in their comfort zone. But here's something to think about. Everything you want in life is just outside your comfort zone. Everything. I used to be afraid of taking risks. I worried about what people would think, what would happen if I failed, if I lost money, if I embarrassed myself. And then one day, a mentor of mine said, "You're afraid of failing, but have you considered the cost of staying the same?" And that hit me, because I realized that playing it safe wasn't actually safe at all. It was the riskiest thing I could do. Staying in the same job, earning the same paycheck, living the same routine, and expecting life to magically change, that was a guaranteed way to stay stuck. The reality is, every successful person has taken risks. They've stepped into the unknown, faced their fears, and moved forward despite uncertainty, because they understood something most people don't. Fear never really goes away. You don't get rid of fear by waiting. You don't overcome it by thinking about it. You overcome fear by doing the very thing you're afraid of. I remember the first time I had to speak in front of a crowd. I was terrified. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding, and I wanted to run off that stage. But I did it anyway. And by the end of that speech, I realized something. Fear is a liar. It tells you you're not ready. It tells you you're not good enough. It tells you to wait. But the truth is, the only way to gain confidence is by taking action. You don't wait to feel ready. You act, and then you become ready. Think about the people you admire, the entrepreneurs, the leaders, the innovators. Do you think they never felt fear? Of course they did, but they pushed through. They understood that the pain of temporary failure is nothing compared to the pain of lifelong regret. So the question is, what's stopping you? What's the risk you've been avoiding? What's the fear that's been holding you back? And more importantly, what's the cost of not taking action? Because one day you'll look back at your life and the risks you didn't take will hurt far more than the failures you experienced. You need a vision that excites you, a future that pulls you forward. And once you have that, you must be willing to take the leap. Because success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who are willing to step into the unknown and go after it. Most people think wealth is about money. They believe if they could just earn a little more, stack a little higher, and collect a little faster, they'd finally have it made. But wealth isn't about money. It's about freedom. The freedom to wake up in the morning and decide how you want to spend your day. The freedom to walk away from things that drain you. The freedom to take care of the people you love without checking your bank account first. Money is just a tool. It's the key that unlocks the door. But the real treasure is on the other side. I remember when I was struggling financially. I used to believe that if I could just make an extra few $100s a month, all my problems would be solved. And when I finally did, nothing changed. My lifestyle adjusted, my expenses grew, and I found myself right back where I started, just at a higher level. That's when I realized something. Wealth isn't about how much you earn, it's about how much control you have over your time, your choices, and your future. There are plenty of people who earn a lot, but are still prisoners to their jobs, their debts, their obligations. They wake up every morning with no choice but to grind through another day, not because they love what they do, but because they have to. That's not wealth. That's a paycheck. Real wealth is when you can wake up and say, I choose what I do today. When you can spend time with your family, take care of your health, travel, create, give, and build something meaningful, not because you need to, but because you want to. And that's the key, purpose. Because freedom without purpose is just another kind of emptiness. I've met people who have millions in the bank, but they're miserable. They've spent their whole lives chasing money only to realize too late that wealth alone won't fill the void. They have the house, the cars, the luxury, but no joy, no health, no meaningful relationships. That's not real success. On the other hand, I've met people who don't flaunt their wealth, but they are truly rich. They wake up excited about their work, not because they have to, but because they love it. They spend their time with family, not because their schedule allows it, but because they design their life that way. They are in control not just financially, but emotionally, physically, and spiritually. That's real wealth. The mistake most people make is thinking wealth starts with a number, that if they could just hit 6 figures or 7 or 8, then they'll be free. But wealth doesn't start in the bank, it starts in the mind. It starts with a decision to stop trading time for money and start building something bigger. It starts when you stop chasing short-term gains and start playing the long game. I once met a man who told me, I want to be rich. I asked him, why? He said, so I can quit my job. I said, then you don't want to be rich. You just want to escape. And that's what most people are looking for, an escape. But escaping isn't the answer. Designing is. Creating a life where you don't have to run, where you're in control, where your time is yours. That's the real goal. So where do you start? You start by redefining wealth. You start by focusing not just on income, but on freedom. Not just on earning, but on building. Not just on spending, but on investing. Investing in your future, in your health, in your relationships, in your growth. Because if all you chase is money, you may end up rich, but you may never be free. The goal isn't just to make a living, it's to design a life. And that starts with understanding that wealth isn't about dollars and cents. It's about choices, freedom, and purpose. Most people live their lives waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, the perfect set of circumstances. They tell themselves, I'll start when I have more money. I'll begin when I have more time. I'll take action when things settle down. But life doesn't wait. And before they know it, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and years turn into a lifetime of regret. The truth is, there is no perfect moment. The stars will never align just right. The best time to start It's now. Right now. I remember when I was just getting started, struggling, looking for a way to turn things around. I had all the excuses. I don't have the resources. I don't know the right people. I'm not ready yet. And then I met a man who had everything I wanted. Success, wisdom, financial independence. I asked him, how did you do it? What's the secret? And he said, I stopped waiting. That was it. He didn't wait until he felt ready. He didn't wait for the fear to go away. He started where he was with what he had and figured the rest out along the way. That conversation changed my life. Think about it. Every great success story begins with someone who simply decided to start. They didn't have all the answers. They weren't fully prepared. They just took the first step. And that first step led to the next, and then the next, until one day they looked back and realized they had built something extraordinary. But it all started with a decision to begin. Most people never take that first step because they're waiting to feel confident. They think they need to be fearless before they act. But here's what they don't realize. Confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes from action. The more you do something, the better you get. The better you get, the more confident you become. So if you're waiting to feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. I once met a young man who wanted to start a business. He had a great idea, a vision, and a real passion for it. But every time we talked, he had a new excuse. I need to do more research. I need to save up a little more. I need to learn just a bit more before I start. A year later, he was still in the same place, still talking about what he was going to do. Meanwhile, someone else with fewer resources, less knowledge, and half his talent had already started. And guess what? That person was succeeding not because they had everything figured out, but because they took action while he was still waiting. Waiting doesn't create progress. Action does. And action doesn't have to be big. It can be a small step, a phone call, a decision, a commitment. A small step taken today is more powerful than a big step planned for someday. Because someday is not on the calendar. Think about the people who wish they had started sooner. The ones who look back and say, if only I had invested 10 years ago, if only I had started that business, if only I had taken that opportunity. The pain of regret is far worse than the discomfort of starting before you feel ready. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to start. Because the best time, it's not tomorrow. It's not next week. It's not someday. The best time to start is now.